Sometimes time obscures the truth. Faces fade, names are forgotten, and stories are left behind in the cold. Yet, every so often, decades later, a whisper breaks the silence, and justice, although delayed, finally arrives. This is the story of Sandra Costilla, a woman whose name was almost forgotten until 30 years later it resurfaced in history and emerged from obscurity. Our story begins far from New York, in the small town of Sangre Grande, Trinidad and Tobago. On August 25th, 1965, Sandra Rajkumar was born to Ram Kissoon and Molly Rajkumar. Her life began in warmth, surrounded by island air, family, and simplicity. However, that light dimmed early. In 1972, when Sandra was just 7 years old, both of her parents passed away. She and her brother were forced to leave their home in Sangre Grande and move to Arima, a nearby town. This marked the first of many sudden changes that would define her short life. By 1984, Sandra was 19. She had left Trinidad, seeking a new beginning in America. In Hawaii, she married Benjamin Costilla and was issued a Social Security number. But not long after, Sandra moved again, this time to New York City. The details of her life in New York are unclear. Records indicate she lived in Queens, but little else remains. There are no photos, no close friends speaking publicly about her, and no diary entries, just traces of her existence. In 1992, a minor incident, jumping a subway turnstile, led to her arrest. Fingerprints were taken, which at the time was just another line in a police ledger. However, a year later, those fingerprints would play a crucial role in identifying her body. It's important to note that the HK 2002-04 document found on Rex's computer lists fingerprints under problems. This document is known as Rex's planning document. Could he have known that Sandra was identified this way? On November 21st, 1993, two hunters walked through the woods of Northsea, a secluded area near Southampton on Long Island's South Fork. As they crossed a quiet trail near Fish Cove Camp, something in the brush caught their attention, a figure motionless. When police arrived, they discovered the body of a young woman who had been dead for days. Her cause of death was strangulation and multiple sharp force injuries. She had been left in the woods, posed deliberately. Sandra possessed no identification or personal belongings. However, weeks later, those forgotten fingerprints from her 1992 arrest finally provided a name: Sandra Costilla. She was 28 years old. Sandra's murder fit a troubling pattern that was quietly spreading across Long Island. Petite women were being found in wooded or isolated areas, strangled and posed. Sandra was discovered with her shirt pulled over her head, exposing her chest and lying on her back with her arms outstretched. She had sustained sharp force injuries to her face, torso, chest, left thigh, and vaginal area. In the years that followed, police began linking Sandra's case to others, women killed in similarly brutal ways. In 2014, a man named John Bittroff was charged with those two murders of Colleen McNamee and Rita Tangretti, and publicly named a prime suspect in Sandra's death as well. However, no charges were ever filed. Trace evidence linked Bittroff to those crimes, but it was insufficient for a conviction. Sandra's case remained open and unsolved, adding her name to the long list of Long Island mysteries. Then, in June 2024, more than 30 years after her death, prosecutors made a stunning announcement. Rex Heuermann, the man accused of the Gilgo Beach murders, was charged with Sandra Castillo's homicide. Forensic analysis, including DNA and hair evidence, finally linked him to the scene of her murder. The same woods where her life ended would now speak on her behalf. Sandra Costilla was more than just a headline or a statistic in a lengthy list of crimes. She was a daughter, a sister, and a woman searching for a life in a place that promised opportunity but delivered tragedy. In memory of Sandra Costilla, 1965 to 1993. If you have information related to this or other Long Island cold cases, please contact Suffolk County Crime Stoppers.